Today we're working on Coffin Dance on Soundtrap.com. We're going to start with a blank project. Go ahead and add a synthesizer. We're going to leave it as flutter wave. Now go in and add a bass track, and we're going to turn that to DRM 808. They're going to play the same thing. So let's go ahead and record one, and we'll copy and paste this to the other. Set our metronome to 124. Confirm. Go ahead and drop down 2 octaves, 1 and 2. We're going to play period, Q, and 3. And the first 2 get 4 beats, and the last one gets 8 beats. Let's give it a shot. Make sure your metronome is on. Eight beats, do it again. And release. Okay. We're stopping right there. Trim your project to your 8 measures, double click. We're going to control A, quantize to quarter note, and we're good to go. Now we're going to copy and paste this. Click on your DRM 808 and hit control V. That'll paste it over there. Let's give it a listen. Awesome. Select both tracks and drag it out for 24 measures. Add a new track and choose string section. We're going to go down an octave again, and we're going to hold down G and 3. Sounds epic already. I'm going to go ahead and do 16 just to make it easier to loop. And release. Okay, trim our part. It shouldn't have to quantize too much if it starts at the beginning. Perfect. Go ahead and drag it out for your 24. Rock and roll. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but what we're going to do, if you put your mouse in the top left-hand corner, you see it goes from that double arrow, double bar to a simple left-right. We're going to move that fade in for the first 8 measures so that when we start the track, you don't hear it right away. It creeps in. Gonna add some excitement later. Fantastic. Okay, the part everyone came here for. Add another synthesizer track. I'm gonna tell you the notes. You can make any synthesizer sound you want. You can add multiple synthesizers. It's perfectly fine, but I'm gonna show you the notes and you go from there. I chose Sweet Lead because it sounds like this. Okay, I'm gonna show you the letters on the screen. It goes G, L, M, G, G, L, M, N, H, 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 M, N, H, G. I know that's a lot, so that's why they're on the screen. Let's try it together. G, G, L, M, N, H, 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 M, N, H, G. Sounds crazy to say those letters while you do that. All right, let's record it. I'm not going to record the other part yet. I'm going to save that for another instrument. And let the 8 beats count out and stop. Awesome. Let's quantize. Control A, right click, and we're going to quantize to 8th notes. Let's see what it sounds like. Sounds pretty great so far. Now we're going to record the response. Let's add a new track. Go to synthesizer. For the response, I chose Lilash. Again, you can choose anything you want. For the response, we're going to start with 2 low notes, G, G, and then we're going to go to R and 4. Back and forth, R first and last. All right, let's give that a shot with the song. We'll do that again. G, G. Awesome. Now we're starting to get our first hints of things just not being mixed well because that string section gets real loud and kind of covers everything up. So what I'm going to do is go over to the strings, just pull that volume down so it doesn't take over because the Sweet Lead and Lilash are our most important parts. We want to make sure even when the orchestra peaks, we can still hear. And maybe I'll just turn Sweet Lead up a little bit. Excellent. We want to make sure that what's important is what's heard. I'm going to trim our part down, make sure it doesn't go too long. Take those. We're gonna drag them out 1 full time and a half, because that's when it changes. We're on to the drums. Go ahead, add a drum beat. Change vanilla to boom snap. Once you have boom snap loaded up, we're gonna go every other square for 1 measure, and this is on the snare drum. So now we have 1 square. We're gonna move that square to measure 15. Once it's on 15, we're gonna drag it out until measure 24. Now make a new drum track, and we're gonna choose dubstepper. Copy and paste. And now we have this. The boom snap snare is very thin, but it gives me the attack, and the dubstepper snare is very wide, but has very little attack, very little snappiness. So combined, I feel like I get that sound that I'm looking for. We're now gonna mix them down because they're a little too loud, but to make it more exciting also, just like we did before, we're gonna make a fade in. Excellent, and we might have to pull that down later. Add another drum set part. This time we're looking for XX. We're using this one for the bass drum. It doesn't matter where you create a part, but we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and another one. So beat 1, beat 4, and this one's halfway through beat 2. We're just gonna make 1 measure of it and drag it out. The bass drum has some sounds that I like, but I also don't like that front heavy attack. So what we're gonna do is add some reverb, go into effects, and we're gonna pull down these high frequencies. It already has an equalizer on it. I'm pulling down the first 2 to make it sound like this. In my opinion, it just rounds off that top. I don't want that ticky-tack sound at the very top. I prefer it to be rounder and more of a thud. And if it even want more, maybe you can pull down that third one as well. You could turn down the treble, you could turn up the bass. Let's see what happens now. I like that a lot better. All right, moving on. We're now gonna go back to the sweet lead part. We cut it off at measure 21. So now we need to record this new section. We're gonna hit 4 of everything. We're starting off with N to L, M to Q, and then 3. It's a total of 9. And we'll give it a double hit at the end because we're gonna slow down that ending. Let's record that section. Starting N, L, M, Q, 3. The last thing we're gonna add to this section is a 5-note rundown. L, M, N, H, G. So you can use 2 hands. I have 2 fingers and 3 fingers ready to go. That sounds cool. But we're gonna do it much slower than that. Here we go. And that's where it lands. All right, now let's quantize this section. Control A, right click. We're gonna use 8th note. Now it'll snap everything into place, hopefully. Fantastic. And the reason we want that in one piece is because we're gonna use that later. We're gonna copy and paste a lot of what we've already created. To make this bigger, we already have everything selected. We're gonna copy, make sure your cursor's on measure 21, paste it again. You can't see it, but now there's 2 layers. I'm gonna now hold shift and press up while that stuff travels up and make sure it lands on A. And it should be in octaves now. There we go. Cool, exciting. I'm gonna copy and paste that. Make sure your cursor's on 21, select Lilash and paste. Select Boom Snap, right click on the track and hit Create Region. We get a blank track, which is perfect at measure 24. And we're gonna go 1, 2, dot, ta, ta, ta. We have a hit on beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, and then we have one right before beat 4, on beat 4, and the end of 4. We're gonna copy and paste that down to dubstepper, and we're gonna recreate that same rhythm on the bass drum track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. There we go. Okay, and now we're in our new section. We're gonna add a synthesizer. We're gonna add Atlantic Pad. Add another synthesizer. Choose popcorn. Add one more synthesizer. Choose German lead. The reason I chose these three is because there isn't really one synthesizer that sounds like Coffin Dance. So I'm adding together all the qualities of these synthesizers to try and make a large sound. Luckily from here on out, it's a lot of copy and pasting. So we're gonna copy this last segment we just made. Make sure you select measure 21, go down to Atlantic Pad and paste. Go to popcorn, measure 21, and German lead, measure 21. There we go. Now, we don't want them just to jump in and be loud. That'd be too aggressive of a sound. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna, again, fade them in. So find where your mouse turns to that double arrow. Let's now select, we're gonna trim our 3 synths to stop at measure 25. Now we're gonna go back and copy that large section from Sweet Lead, go to Atlantic Pad on measure 25 and hit paste. And we can shrink this down. But what I also wanna do before we paste this on the other ones, I wanna record the response on this track. And we're gonna play G, G, R4, back and forth. Let's record that onto this track. Yeah, and there's a lot of latency between my keyboard and what we hear, so I just have to quantize. I wish I could play it a little cleaner, but that's just the best that's gonna happen. Okay, so now that we have a combined track, we're gonna shorten it to the measure. There we go. Now let's copy and paste it. Popcorn, measure 25, paste, German lead, measure 25, and now we should have a really strong lead. Bass section is by far the most intricate part. I'll give you one shot at playing it, but after that, I'm just gonna show you how to type it in. I'm going back to DRM 808. The notes are still the same, but the rhythm is far more complex this time. If this were the beat, 2, here I go. I'm using 2 fingers on the keyboard. I'm gonna record this with a metronome on. If you feel like you can play it along, absolutely do that. Otherwise, I'm gonna show you how to plug it in. X. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that once. Okay, I'm gonna control A and quantize to the 16th note this time. We just have those fast 16th notes, 4 16th notes in a row, but it's not on the beat. It starts on the of 1, 1, a 2 E and then we have the and of 3 and the E of 4. If you don't want to play that with your keyboard, we're just starting on D, and these are 16th notes. So we have 1, skip 2, then we have 4 in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 3, plug 1, skip 2, plug 1, skip 2. The rhythm is the same, so if you got the first one right, you could copy and paste on a measure 26, and then just slide it up to the correct pitch, which is E, E for eagle, and then the last one is F sharp. It's the same rhythm every time, so if you get it right once, you could copy and paste it. D, E, F sharp, F sharp. We're now gonna come back, let's shorten our track. We're gonna copy and paste it to flutter wave on measure 25. We're gonna drag this out 3.5 times. 1, 2, 3.5. You go back to Coffin Dance, the real version, this bass synth is insane. I think that's the reason why this section works, because there's not much else going on. It's the bass line, it's a bass drum just going 1, 2, 3, 4, and this high synth. That's it, but it still sounds amazing. If anything is lacking in this section, it's definitely my bass sound, but it's gonna work for now. Speaking of the bass drum, we're gonna go back to our XX track, and we're gonna go on measure 25. We're just gonna type in every 4 beats. And that's our pattern. Drag it out. Let's go back to our string section now, because it still feels a little empty. Even though that's all that's going on in the real version, I still want to add something in the background. First chord of this song is D major. That's X, G, N. Right? It's a pretty happy sound for such a ghoulish song. We're gonna press this down for the first 4 counts. The next chord is E major. That is C, H, and M. We're going to wait for and play for. Here we go. And stop. Alrighty. Our last chord is F sharp minor, G, N, and L. Wait 8, play 8. 6, 7, 8, play 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and stop. This might be too orchestral for some of you. You're thinking maybe this sounds too traditional, which is perfectly fine. You can absolutely leave this out if you'd like. I quantize to the quarter note. I'm going to shrink my part, and I get this sound. That orchestra part really fills in the silence that we're hearing. Now maybe you want the silence because we're still building to more, but for me, I just like to hear those chords just to add some depth. I don't know. In the song, the next thing to come in chronologically is the boom snap snare drum. So we're going to create a region right here and measure 29. Double click. Let's go over to 29. And it's just some 2 and 4 snare drum. Easy peasy. We're going to drag that out until measure 37. Copy and paste that over to our dubstepper, and we get this. And I'm finding the boom snap to be too loud and not hearing enough dubstepper. And maybe I just need to add some reverb to dubstepper to kind of round out that sound. Okay, excellent. Yeah, and our cool leads over here, they go to 37 also. 3, 37. So if you're anything like me at measure 29, when those snares come in, it just kind of feels random that the snares are coming in so early. So I'm gonna go to dubstepper and add a region. And right at the last second of measure 28, I'm just gonna add a pop pop, just to kind of warn the listener, here comes the snare drum. And that's just 4 and. That's the 4th square of 28, every other, just to get this effect. And it just kind of warns the listener. I don't know how else to put it, but it's like it introduces the snare before it becomes a regular thing. The next thing that happened chronologically at 37, this part comes back. This small part that we copied and pasted a bunch. We're gonna put it on sweet lead, and we're gonna get rid of the fade. And then with it having no fade, can we put it on Atlantic and popcorn and German lead, and we'll just line those up. 41, I believe, is like the true drop of this song. So we want to give it some drop-like qualities. For instance, we're going to leave the bass out because I think it kind of creates some suspense. And that's when the bass will come back in. So we can actually go ahead and do that now if we want to. We can just copy and make sure we have flutter wave selected and paste at 41. So that way, we have that low end comes back in because you kind of miss it. You have to miss it to want it to come back. 37 is the start of our, let's call it our snare drum drop. We're gonna switch to 8th notes. So that means every other, da, 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 da. And we're gonna do that till 39. If you need help scrolling over, you hold shift and roll your wheel. All right, we just did now the fun part. Let's fill 39 up. And 40, let's do half. Let's go to here. So we see patterns, we're in patterns right now. If we go over to piano roll and zoom in, I want to make this last section like so fast that it just sounds like right before the drops with the snares going so fast it almost sounds like a tone. And what we're gonna do is just click in every, this is meticulous, but every square, just give it a double click. So now we're gonna copy and paste, go to dubstepper, go to measure 37, paste. Now we have them on both instruments. Alrighty, cool. Bass drum. I do kind of want to add, see if I should keep it at quarter notes. not in love, but I'm gonna keep it at quarter notes. So now we have our big drop, and we want everything to come back now. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go crazy. We're gonna take this, the second time that we made both the call and the response into one track, and we're gonna paste that onto everything. The sweet lead gets it at measure 41. Atlantic pad gets it, whoops. That's, I guess, why we put our cursor where it's supposed to go. 41 is for popcorn, and German lead. And so it's gonna create our largest sound yet, where we have all of our instruments playing that melody at the same time. Oh, and we wanna go back and grab our Lilish response, just so that we can have that high end. All right, and we're gonna make sure everything goes to 57. We're calling that the end of our loop, the end of our song. And that's the moment where I'll have it actually just loop back to the beginning if I wanted to create a loop. The bass drum and snare drum is gonna perfectly match what we had done before in this section. So if I want to, at 29, I can select the bass drum part. If I hit Control E, it's gonna give me a nice clean cut right there. 37, select the bass drum part, Control E, clean cut. And then I can copy and paste that whole section to 41. Rut-row, select boom snap, 41, paste, all right. Drag it out to 57. There's 2 things left to add to this. We're gonna add one more drum track, and we're gonna go to measure 41. On this vanilla kit, you can keep it vanilla if you'd like. Go over here and make sure we find open hi-hat. I already clicked it, sorry. We're gonna go to every third, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is the upbeats. It should sound like disco or house music. And we're just gonna bring that, we're gonna drag it out for the whole time, bring the volume pretty far down. It doesn't have to be too loud, it's just a hint. You can experiment and go to some other drum kits. I like the subtlety of pop and snap, that's nice. It's just a little hint. And the cool part is we can actually go back and just create another one and have that vanilla hi-hat going also. So 41, open hi-hat on the third of every group, drag it out, and we're just gonna make it so soft that it kind of blends in. Just so you can hear. It just adds a little bit of weight to that sound and makes it unique. Excellent. There's one last thing before we're done. We're gonna add it. We're gonna go to synthesizer. We're gonna add the instrument and type in Cyber Duck. This is gonna be the same chords from the string section, but they're gonna be played in the same upbeat fashion as this hi-hat. Boom, cha, 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 cha. Let's try and record it once. If it doesn't work out, I'll show you how to plug it in. So we're gonna start with a D major chord, X, G, N. If that's too high, let's try down an octave. X, G, N. I like that better. That first one was super late, and I caught the next 3. Let's zoom in and just see how bad it was. Control A, quantize to 8th note. Cool, it's still snapped into place. Sounds like this. Alrighty, if you're punching it in, if you have 4 squares to every beat, it's the 3rd square, just like the hi-hat. Skip 2, plug it in, go to the next beat. Skip 2, plug it in, skip 2, plug it in. It's the same rhythm, so the next chord is E major. So if you're doing the piano roll, it's E, G sharp, and B. If you're doing the instrument approach, that is C, H, and M. Alrighty, got my 4 in. And now let's record the last one before we go too far. G, N, and L. That's our F sharp minor chord. We're gonna record 8 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, here I go. Again, I missed the first one pretty bad and then caught up. So I can Control A, right click, quantize to 8th note. Alrighty, if you're plugging it in, it should look like this when you're done. Everything is on the 3rd square of the beat, and it just goes from D major, which is D, F sharp, A, to E, G sharp, B, to F sharp, A, C sharp. And the Soundtrap is using all flats, so G flat and D flat and so on. And you don't want this too loud in the texture, just like the hi-hat, it just needs to be a hint, so we're gonna pull it down pretty far. Drag it out. And we have a very colorful section, 41 to 58. So for now, what I'm going to do is drag out my repeat loop to measure 57. I'm going to turn on the loop, and the idea is at the end, to jump back to the beginning and calm back down again. And start the loop all over again. If for any reason you just want to end it out, or if you're creating a longer piece, if you have like a time minimum, you can add a new track and go to keyboards. Under other is music box, okay? Now I think this is pretty cool. I'm gonna turn the loop feature off so I can record at measure 57. Yeah, for Halloween, that seems a lot creepier to me. Okay, so that's the full project. If you're looking to remix, feel free to change any of these sounds. Copy and paste, move things around, change the beat, pick different drum sets, pick different synthesizers, change how you play the chords. If you have the chords figured out, put them on any instrument, or maybe just have a section where there's no melody and it's just chords and beat. Or play with muting tracks. Now that you've done this, what if we took the melody out of this section? I went back and muted all the melodies. And I'm gonna use G, H, N, M, and L. Using those 5 notes, you can create any melody you want over those same chords. All right, thanks for doing this project with me. This was by request. Thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me know about this song. Yes, I've heard it before, but I never thought to do a Soundtrap tutorial, so that's a great idea. Anyway, I hope you learned something, and I'll see you later.